What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the vlog. In this one, we are not in Dallas anymore. We are back in LA and we're playing some home games. And it gets a little crazy. You guys know how home games go, so I hope you guys enjoy the vlog. Let's get right into it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. Today, we are back in California. We're out of Dallas and we are playing a home game today. 2-3 and we are in for 500 bucks. Let's get rolling. This is going to be a fun video. The very first hand, we looked down at 8-6 of spades on the button. There's a $6 straddle, and I raised it up to $20. Seems pretty standard to me. Raising from the button. The small blind Nick and the straddle Joey both put in the call. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop in position, which is king, 9, 10 with 2 spades. The action is going to start by checking to me like I would expect it to, and I'm going to put out a bet here with my flush draw. I also have a gutter to the 7. This board is definitely going to favor me. I'm going to have pocket kings, 10s, 9s, ace king, aces. While I would assume that they would 3-bet that pre-flop, so we definitely have an advantage here. We all probably have the nuts being queen jack, but I put out a bet of 40 bucks trying to fold out hands that are better than ours. Obviously, this is a semi-bluff. We have plenty of equity. We only get one caller, and that's from Nick in the small blind. So going to a turn card now, which is a bink 7 of diamonds. We hit the straight. It's not the nuts. We're still beat by jack 8 and queen jack, but definitely, when he checks it over to me, we're going to be betting here for value. We can get value from top pairs, 2 pairs, a hand like maybe jack 7 of spades, queen 9 of spades or something like that. There's plenty of hands that we could bet out and get value from here. So that's what I do. I'm going to get $155 to go, and it's over the size of the pot. That's because of how wet the board is and how many different hands he could call us with here. He could even check jam some 2 pairs like king 7, maybe 10-9, but I assume some of those hands would check raise flop. Fortunate for us, though, he sticks in the call, and we're going to have to play a river here, hoping for a clean one, and it's not really what we get. It comes to queen of diamonds. We still have a straight, but any jack is going to have us beat now. It's definitely possible he could have a hand like queen jack, king jack, jack 8, maybe even the hand like jack 10 that got sticky on the turn. So definitely not loving this card, and if he checks it over to me, I'm going to have a decision whether to check or bet for value, but we don't really get to make that decision because he shoves all in for $280, and now we're in a bit of a predicament here. It's a very close spot. He could have a few bluffs here, but I don't know if he's going to turn a hand like 2 pair into a bluff on this river. That wouldn't make too much sense, so I'm trying to think of a hand he would shove here as a bluff, and the only one that comes to mind would be like 10-8, maybe 9-8, but I'm not sure if those hands would even call the turn. So a lot of his hands could have improved to the straight on this river, and he could have had it from the beginning, like I said, queen jack, king jack, jack 10, jack 8, maybe even ace jack of spades is very possible here. So we just have a bluff catcher, and in my opinion, it's pretty hard to find that many bluffs here. I don't think most players are going to be turning 2 pair into a bluff, which they probably shouldn't. They just check and get to showdown. So yeah, I decided to fold my cards on this hand and pick a better spot. It seems like he's going to have a lot of jack X here. So yeah, I fold my cards, and unfortunately, he does not show. We don't get to see if we made the right fold or not, but comment down below what you think. I just think it's hard to find bluffs in that spot. We're going to shake it off and move on to the next hand after adding on for another $500. We have $700 in our stack, and we're on the button with ace 4 suited. The small blind Nick raises it up to 35 bucks, and I could probably 3-bet or call here, but closing the action, I'll take it in position. I stick in the call, and we're going to an ace high flop, which is ace 3-7 rainbow, unfortunately with no heart, but he continues on this board like I would expect him to, but he chooses a pretty big sizing of $60. Obviously, with top pair, don't really want to be raising. That would be an overplay, and we'd probably only get called by better hands. So just putting in the call in position seems like the only move here. So that's what I do, and we're going off to a turn, which is the 9 of diamonds. Pretty big brick. It brings in the backdoor flush draw. You could have c-bet a hand like jack 10, 10, 8, 8, 6 is possible. So he definitely could have some draws on this turn, as well as some suited connectors that have diamond flush draws would probably keep betting. So when he slows down and checks here, it seems pretty good for me. I definitely love to see it. It's probably likely he has a lower pocket pair like kings, queens, jacks, 10s, or something like that. He could probably balance out his checking range here with like ace 10 and ace 8 as well. So I don't think we're going to get value from any worse hands all 3 streets. I decide to check and get some value on the river. The river card now is the jack of clubs, and he decides to put out a big bet over the size of the pot for $235. Now, this is pretty confusing. Like I mentioned, I figured he has a lot of pocket pairs when he checks the turn card. He could have some ace-x that wants to bet this river, but I don't know why they would want to choose this size specifically, unless he had ace-jack, but in my mind, ace-jack continues betting on the turn because there's plenty of worse hands he could have gotten value from. So this bet is basically telling me he has a set of aces, nines, jacks, or sevens. And I think nines and sevens would bet the turn, trying to get it all from an ace. So I'm pretty confused. Could be possible he rivered a straight with 10-8, but I think that there's plenty of bluffs, and he would have barreled that hand on the turn. So I think he probably has a lower pair like 5s, 6s, king, queen 10, queen 10. Those hands that want to attack me when I check back on the turn. And when I check a top pair on the turn, I'm not going to be folding the river. So that's what I do. And we get the bad news. He shows pocket jacks for the rivered set. We had the right read on the turn. He had a pocket pair, but unlucky river. I think once we check back an ace on the turn, we have to call off the river. So nice hand, Nick. We once again add on for $500 more. And we're going to keep battling here because this game is fun, worth all of our friends. And we are going to play some poker.
One of the most common questions I get is, how do you improve at this game? How do you study poker and become a better player? I have the answer for you now. I've recently partnered with BBZ Poker, which is really exciting for me because about 5 months ago I discovered them and they really turned my game around. They have something called the daily seminars, and some of the best poker coaches in the world do seminars 8 times per week. And there's already 1,000 videos in the bank. So if you sign up, it's only $60 a month. And in my opinion, this is the #1 way to go to get better at the game. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to hit me with a DM on Instagram or a comment down below. The link is down below if you guys are interested, and there is so much value in this, I promise. Now let's get back into the video.
Looking down at pocket fours in the cutoff, there's a $6 button straddle. Joey in the big blind races to 25 bucks, and I'm going to go set mining here. I'm the only one to put in the call, which is nice. Going heads up in position to a flop, which is queen 8-3 rainbow. Not the best flop, not the worst flop. Pocket fours still could be ahead quite often, so I'm definitely not folding when he bets out for 25 bucks here on the flop. I stick in the call, and the turn card is definitely pretty good. It's the 3 of spades, not an overcard to our pair. It reduces the likelihood that he has pocket threes, so when he bets out again for a weird size of $54, not sure why you can't just round up to 55, but I have played a lot of poker with my guy Joey. Trust me, and he likes to bluff. He likes to get sticky, especially against me. And on this turn card, he could still bluff a hand like Jack 10, 10, 9, Jack 9. He probably also has some Ace Jack, Ace King in there as well. Joey likes to blast it off and on this brick of a turn card. All of my floats on the flop, like King Jack of clubs or 10, 7 of hearts or something like that, will probably fold to this turn bet. The pocket fours we probably have to defend. It's unlikely he's going for value here with an 8 or a pair under a queen. I think the majority of people would just check this turn, so I'm going to put in the call here and evaluate the river card. River is another great card for us. It's the 8 of hearts. It reduces the likelihood that he has pocket 8s or even an 8 in general. So now I'm feeling pretty good about our pocket 4s, and if he did have a hand like ace queen, king queen, even aces or kings, he's not going to feel too great about this. We both have a pretty similar amount of 8x in our range, but I think if he bets out here, it's unlikely that he's going to have top pair. It wouldn't make too much sense. It is very thin going for value here on the river with top pair. But to my surprise, he bets out $179, pretty close to the size of the pot, and we're going to think this one through. I already mentioned a few of the points where I don't think he's going to be going for value with ace queen. There's so few hands that you're going to get value from. Sure, you could target pocket pairs, but that is really about it. You block the other top pairs, so it's difficult for somebody to call off with a worse queen. And this bet isn't really making too much sense. I mentioned that I don't think he would bet the turn with an 8, so I'm going to rule out any 8x or 3x in his range. It's possible he could have aces or kings, but the value range is too thin and the bluff range is way too much. Jack 9, 10, 9, Jack 10, King Jack, King 10. There's so many hands he could bluff with here. And I think pocket fours are going to make a good hero call on this board. We unblock all those draws, so I'm going to get sticky with my guy Joey. And I put in the call, and he shows us the queen 5 of hearts. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a thin value bet. And he played us like a fiddle. That's what happens when you play with your friends. He knows I'm sticky, but I know he can pull the trigger there on the river. So nice hand to Joey. And yeah, the first couple hands of this session have not been ideal, but we are going to battle. The home game environment is always very fun with your friends. Everybody's playing a little loose. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. But I'm stuck about 4 buy-ins, and I mean business. So we looked down at ace queen off in middle position. We added on for another 500 bucks, and we have 950 in our stack. There's a $10 button straddle. The small blind limps, so I'm going to raise it up here. Going to go big. Everybody's calling pretty wide. I make it $55 to go. The button straddle and the small blind both put in the call. Now going to a flop, which is 10-4-3 rainbow. The small blind checks it over to me, and on this board, multi-way, I'm going to start with a check. And now the button decides to bet out for $60. When the small blind gets out of the way, I think we have to be defending ace-queen. We have 2 backdoor straight draws and 2 probably clean overs. So, going to see a turn card. We're still ahead of a few draws, and when the action checks to the button, they could definitely bet a lot of random hands on this flop. Turn card 8 of clubs is pretty much a brick. I'm going to check it over to the button, and fortunately, they check it back. So we get to see a free river card. We still could have the best hand. I'm not depending on it, but it is possible. River card is the jack of spades. I don't think I need to bluff this one. I would probably bluff my king highs and obviously like jack highs and floats like that on the flop. So I think ace queen could win sometimes. I check, they check back, and we are going to lose this one, unfortunately, to 5-4 offsuit for just a pair of 4s. So we're 0 for 4 here at the beginning of the session. But we're going to move right along to the next hand. We have king 4 of hearts in the cutoff. The action folds to me. We're going to put this one in our RFI range here. I may get $15 to go. And the small blind and big blind both put in the call. Now we're going to a flop which is queen 10-3 with 2 diamonds. A swing and a miss for us. But the small blind open folds. So now we're heads up and we're ready to battle here. Definitely a relief to see. The big blind checks it over to me. And I'm going to put out a bet here now that we're heads up. I would probably check this one multi-way. But taking down the pot right now would be nice. But my buddy Joey, he is sticky, and he puts in the call. The turn now is the 6 of hearts, and we're sitting with king high and no draw. I think this is probably one to give up. We have much better hands to barrel with some sort of equity, so just give this one up. I check it back, and the river card, though, is the king of spades. We river top pair. Most likely the best hand here. We still could probably lose to a few 2 pairs and straights, but when Joey bets out for $75 here, I'm not going to be folding my top pair. And I'm going to try to get this guy. I promise he bluffs every once in a while. So I put in the call, but he's not bluffing this time. He turns over jack 9 of spades for the rivered straight. So pretty unfortunate river there to give us top pair. You guys might be watching this video like, why am I watching this guy? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, this is pretty unfortunate start, but you guys know how I like to come back. And you guys know how I like to play. I'm a hero caller. I'm a bluffer. I like to think things through very thoroughly. So you guys know how quickly this all can change. And we started playing the PLO double board bomb pots, so that can change in an instant. We're in the cutoff, though, with pocket 8s, and the $40 straddle is on. So that gives you a sense of, this was a 2-3 game about an hour ago, and now it's a $10, $20, $40 straddle. Now we're playing high-stake poker here. Pocket 8s in the cutoff with only $650 in my stack. What is that, like 16 bigs or something? Anyway, my brother on my right raises to $150 first in, and pocket 8 sitting here. I'm a tournament player. I know what to do when it comes to 16 bigs, and that is all in. I shove all in, and the small blind calls for $500 in his stack. So we're going for the max gamble here. I hope we're flipping. Obviously, not ideal, but I think we have to take this spot. We're going to go off to a run out. The flop comes jack 5, jack with 2 clubs. The turn card is the deuce of clubs, and the river card is the 4 of clubs. We river the flush, and he shakes his head in denial when we show him, and we're going to scoop a pot finally. $1,375 coming our way. I'm not sure if we rivered him there or if we had the best hand the whole time. His face looked like we rivered him, but you can never know for sure, and we're scooping a nice pot on the $40 straddle hand. So all I needed was a little bit of gamble, and we are back. In the next one, we are in the big blind with jack 10 of hearts. This is a $10 button straddle. I'm going to start by raising it off to $35, and Joey on the button puts in the call. The flop comes down ace, ace, deuce with 2 diamonds. And I think this is probably just going to be a board that I'm going to bet a lot on, and I don't need to bet super big. We can fold out a hand that's probably better than ours, like queen 10, queen 9, you know, king 10, stuff like that that probably won't float. So putting out a bet here definitely folds out some of those hands. I put out a bet of $20, and he puts in the call. Off to a turn card now, which is the 5 of spades. Doesn't improve our hand in the slightest, but I don't really know if I should be bluffing this. But you guys know me. I go for it here. Bet out for $55. I think this is actually a really poorly played hand. I think if I had an ace, I would want to size up a lot and protect from all the draws and get value from pairs and worse ace-x. So I think betting 55 here is really weak and weird. Not sure why I chose this combo either. I probably want to have some sort of flush draw or any kind of equity. Anyway, he puts in the call, and the river card is the king of hearts. Now, my thought process on this card was that if he had a hand like pocket 3s or pocket 4s, I'd probably have rivered a top pair here a lot with my bluffs. But I get to the river with jack high, and what am I supposed to do, huh? Just check and give up. There's all the missed flush draws. He could still have a hand like 6-7 of spades, or like 9-10 of diamonds, and I don't want to check and let him bluff. I think that he probably would raise an ace on the turn with both of the draws out there. Not for sure, but I don't know. My thought process was probably pretty jumbled in this hand. Not sure what I'm doing, but I bet out for 165 bucks. And sure enough, he puts in the call and shows me an ace. So you guys can go ahead and roast me in the comments. I know this hand was poorly played. It was really, really bad. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. Shortly after this hand, we scooped a $1,000 PLO bomb pot with a runner flush. It was insane. And then after that, we scooped a $1,200 PLO bomb pot. This is how this home game has been going, man. And we are up $150 after all those hands we lost, after being in for I don't know how much total. I'll tell you at the end of the video, but it was crazy. And yeah, we found the green for this session, which was insane. We're going to fast forward to another home game we played here, and it gets crazy as well. We looked down at ace-jack offsuit on the button. The early position player raises to 20 bucks. I'm going to call on the button here. Could 3-bet, but against EP, I'm going to favor call. The big blind comes along as well, and we're going to a flop now, which is queen 3 deuce with 2 diamonds. A swing and a miss for us. We don't have any immediate equity. Ace-high could still be the best hand, so when the early position continues for $30, it's pretty close here. I think I probably should only continue if I have a diamond or backdoor spades. But I decided to put in the float here, and the big blind gets out of the way. Definitely pretty light, and looking back at it, probably minus EV. But hey, man, we're in position on the turn of river. We might be able to bluff our way out of this one. The turn card is the queen of spades, and he goes for a check now. The action is on me. I think that this is when I probably should start bluffing. If I had a queen, I would want to put more money in the middle and protect from draws, but in the moment, I figured that I probably still have the best hand sometimes, so I go for a check. The river card now probably gives us the best hand. It's the jack of spades. And he checks it over to me once again, basically confirming that I have the best hand. He would bet a queen, he would bet a flush, he would bet a full house. So we want to pick a size that we can have bluffs with. He could have bet the flop with a hand like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket 8s. And he could still get sticky on the river here with ace-king, thinking I have missed diamonds, 5-4, missed straight draw, something like that. So I'm going to put out a bet, kind of polarized here on the river. I bet $110, trying to look like I'm trying to steal it. But unfortunately, he folds his cards, and we are going to take down that pot. The next one, we have pocket jacks under the gun, $6.50 in our stack. I raise it up to $20, and we get 3 callers. So hoping to see a fortunate flop, and we do. It's 9-5 deuce rainbow. Really great flop for us. Obviously, flopping an overpair with pocket jacks is always nice. I probably could start with a check and go for a check raise, but a lot of these players aren't super aggressive, so I can't count on somebody betting. So I do the betting for him. I bet out for 35 bucks. A small bet when we're this multi-way. That is what is in order, and my left puts in the call, and the late position player calls as well. Now going to a turn card, which isn't ideal. It's the ace of clubs. Obviously, a card over our jack, and it's probably the worst one to see. So I think starting with a check is probably ideal, and I do. I start with a check, and it checks around. The river card now is the king of clubs, and another really bad card. Even though they shouldn't have too many king-high floats in the flop, they still could have a hand like ace-3, ace-4. Could have a hand like ace-5 or something like that, but I do think they would probably bet the turn with 2 pair. And I check, and the player on my left now bets out for $60. The late position player folds, and I snap call. I don't know what it was, but in the moment, I just felt he was weak. I felt 8-6, 8-7, something really weird like that, pocket 3s, pocket 4s. And it doesn't really make too much sense for him to float me on the flop with a hand like ace-10, ace-jack, or something like that. And if he made 2 pair with the ace, he probably would have bet the turn to get value. He's definitely not value betting a king on this river from what I've seen so far. So I just kind of went with my read. I snap called, and he says a pair is good. So there you go. I show him pocket jacks, and he mucks his cards, and we move on. Let's go. Sometimes home games get a little crazy, and people just do things that don't happen usually. You got to factor that in sometimes. So now we look down at 8-7 suited on the button straddle. $10 straddle from us. The small blind limps. The big blind raises to 45 bucks. And when the hijack and cutoff put in the call, it seems like a really, really nice spot to squeeze. Fortunately, everybody's not super deep, so that's why I don't love this, but I don't really mind going for it here. This hijack and the cutoff should be dead money most of the time. So I 3-bet up to 205 bucks. And the small blind folds, big blind folds, which is great to see the original razor fold. But unfortunate for us when the hijack jams all in for 300 bucks. Not what we wanted to see. But only for $95 more, we are obviously going to call here. We have good equity against a lot of his hands, so we go off to a run out here. First board comes Jack, Queen, Jack. The turn is an 8, and the river's an 8. So we actually have a full house there. As long as he doesn't have a Jack or pocket Queens, we're going to win that board. The second board comes King, 9, 6. jack on the turn, and a queen on the river. He shows us the king 9 of diamonds, and we're going to chop up that pot. I told you guys, you never know what's going to happen in a home game, so probably shouldn't have squeezed the 8-7 suited. Probably should favor bigger high card hands, but, you know, happy with the way this one turned out. All right, we got a few more hands for you guys in this video. We have $500 in our stack in the cutoff now with pocket 8s. There's a $10 straddle, and there's 2 limps. I raised it up to $50, and now the player on the button 3-bets to 150s. This is probably the best player at the table. He's pretty skilled, he 3-bets a lot, and he definitely is capable of bluffing here. I'm very close between calling and jamming here. Cutoff versus button, jam is probably fine for 50 big blinds, but I decided to call and just take a flop. I think I like jam a little bit better looking back at it, though. The flop comes pretty good for us. It's 4-4 deuce with 2 clubs. I start with a check like I would with my entire range, and he bets out really small for $60 like I would expect him to as well. It's a really tough spot. Calling seems like a pretty bad option because there's very few turn cards that we're going to like to see. Jamming seems like basically the only option for us here. We want to deny equity from overcards. Obviously, if he has a bigger pair, he has a bigger pair. But, yeah, it seems pretty close. In the moment, I decided to go with it, all in. And, unfortunately, he snap calls us. And right when he snap calls, I know it's game over for us. He probably has a bigger pair. And it was. Yeah, he shows us aces. And we're going to lose. Pretty chunky pot there. But, you know, I think it was fine. He's a good player. He can 3-bet other than aces. We just ran into it there, and we played a few more hands after rebuying for $1,000, and we made a little bit more back. I don't remember. I actually lost the footage for the last few hands of this video, but that's going to be it for this vlog, and let's head to the outro.
That's it for this video, guys. We were out of the first game for a profit of $390. What a comeback. That was crazy. I was in for so much in that game. And then the second game, I ended up losing $150. So it's a total profit from both the games of $240. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Click subscribe if you guys like the content, and I'll see you in the next one.